Good morning, everybody. Wake up.
Wake up, wake up.
In Provincetown. This week featuring
Wake up, wake up.
Can I have some coffee?
Wake up, wake up.
Make it strong, please. Hey. Ho. Hey.
Wake up, wake up.
Ho. No, really, can I have some coffee?
Wake up, wake up.
If I could say that one more time. Here, look at this twink. Good morning, everybody. It's Friday, March 31st, 2023, and this is Wake Up in Provincetown. I'm Bob Curie.
I'm Harrison Fish.
Thank you for joining us. We've got a really spectacular show for you today.
Yeah, we do.
Tell them.
We have town manager Alex Morse coming in to chat about his first 2 years at the job, as well as some of the articles on this year's town warrant. Yeah.
We have our weather girl, faithful, reliable weather girl, Ann Hutchinson, out in the elements, as always.
We also have Tim Famulare coming in to chat about one of the articles regarding the breakwater.
And it's the 10th anniversary of Tin Pan Alley. We talked to proprietor Jack Kelly about their first 10 years, their big party that's open to the entire community this Tuesday, April 4th at 5 o'clock. They're going to have music at the piano, music in the back on the water. They're tenting it. Just wait. It's going to be a huge, it's going to be like those old Red-In opening parties.
Right.
Where like everyone came and it really felt like the town was back for the season.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
How was your week?
My week was very extremely uneventful. So right after I left here, I went home for a little bit, and then I went to the gym, and I hurt my back while I was there.
What were you doing?
Face pulls.
Uh-huh.
Clearly, I don't know how to do this.
I know, right? You don't know how to do this motion, pulling things toward your face?
No, it was actually funny. Me and Joe were at the gym a few weeks ago in Boston, and we were doing face pulls, and he hurt his back, and then I did it this Friday.
Either you're doing something wrong, or this is something that we shouldn't be doing anymore.
I think I was doing something wrong. So I usually use the rowing bench to do it.
Yeah.
But I needed the double-ended
Rope.
Okay.
Dildo.
Rope. The double-ended rope, but Benji was using it and doing face pulls, but he was standing up while doing them, and I was like, oh, I'll just join you and I'll work in, and I shouldn't do them standing up, it seems. Yeah. So then I was pretty much bedridden through the whole weekend because I could not move or stand up, and then while that happened, I developed a cold.
And you were here for all of that?
Yeah, I stayed in P-Town just because I could chill on my couch and be gross.
I was pulling up to the grocery store the other day, and I saw this hobbling, pathetic creature. And then I got closer, and I was like, oh my God, what are you doing here? Just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, I had to go get my daily bag of chips, pint of ice cream.
That'll
chicken
definitely make your
tenders.
back feel better.
It did make my back feel better.
The back of your throat.
Yeah, my pants are very tight. Yeah.
Well, it was actually nice to see you in the middle of the week, which I'm probably going to be doing more since, when does your apartment in Boston end?
I have it through April.
Oh, you do?
But in April, because there'll be a lot of stuff going on, I'll probably be here more often.
Right.
But it was a bummer because I was here throughout the week in Provincetown, and I wanted to go to Mona's Trivia and go to the drag show, and I just couldn't because I was dying.
Oh, you didn't even go to bingo?
No, I was still sick. I thought I was starting to feel better that day when I saw you at the grocery store, and I was like, I'll feel better tomorrow, and then that didn't happen.
Might have been the ice cream and chips.
Doubt it. Probably not. How was your week?
My week was fantastic. Oh, I finally got to see Scream 6.
How was it? I know you're very opinionated.
I'm
because
deeply
you're a
invested
fan,
in this franchise. I love these movies. And
did you miss Sidney Prescott?
I did. But I don't think the movie did. It didn't really need her.
Wow.
Because it ended up being really, really good without her. And I was like, oh, okay.
It's good.
I hope she comes back in the future, but I screamed, I jumped out of my seat, I cried again. I think I'm just turning into an old softie. I'm now crying at slasher films routinely.
At Scream 6.
Scream 5 and Scream 6, just weeping. And because it's 3 weeks into the run of this movie, there were 8 people in there. So I had to
No.
cry really softly.
Oh yeah, that was like when I watched Last of Us with like 6 of my friends. That episode with Murray. I was like sitting there, like every once in a while, I'd be like,
You're like pausing it. You guys, I have to go to the bathroom, and then you don't come back for 20 minutes.
and the second the door closed, they were like,
Ugly crying.
It was ugly crying, but it was good. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. If you haven't seen it yet,
Was
go
Jenna
see it.
Ortega good?
She's great, and the last one came out before Wednesday.
Yeah, she
was
wasn't
on
like the huge star she
So
is
now
now.
she's like fully popped and like living her best life.
One of the women from Yellow Jackets is in that too, right?
Yes, Jasmine Savoy Brown, who plays a lesbian on both shows. So I wonder if she maybe actually is.
Maybe.
Is she?
We have a lesbian in the room.
I know, lesbians. Is Jasmine Savoy Brown an actual lesbian?
Well,
Okay.
they're gonna find out.
Because if she's not,
the
and she's
hard
always
way.
playing one, canceled. No, so that was great. I didn't get to go to any of the like trivias or bingos this week either. I did go to a big wine tasting on Wednesday at the Wauquasit Inn.
Fun.
It was fun. Have you
Where's
been to
the
Wauquasit?
Wauquasit Inn.
What town is that in? Harwich Port or, you know? No, it's not. That's the Chatham Bars Inn, dummies. It's in Harwich, thank you. So the Wauquasit Inn and Golf Resort is in Harwich, and it's a spectacular property. It's one of the few 5-star resorts on the Cape, and there were like 3 giant ballrooms adjacent to one another that it was like, this one was spirits, this was some wines, and then you went to another one, and you're like, more wine? But I haven't been spitting. Like that kind of wine tasting.
Right.
So,
Who spits at a wine tasting?
Nobody there that day. But we, jotted down notes, making some decisions for this year. It's time.
I know.
It's time.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I forgot. I did go to Chatham Saturday morning.
What did you do?
Because I hurt my back Friday, and then I woke up and I was like, yeah, I guess kind of sore. I'll just take some ibuprofen. And then throughout my journeys in Chatham, I was like, I shouldn't be moving.
Aww.
But me and Benji went down to Chatham just to kind of like do some hikes and stuff. We went to this one area of Chatham that there's a national park in it, but all of the homeowners have paid to put up signs like private, don't come in here. But there's a public national park on the other side of all those signs.
It's very Cape.
It was very Cape.
That's
very
pretty Cape.
But it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how I know it's getting close to the time for us to go back to work? Last night was my first night this season that I had all work nightmares all night long.
Oh, good.
You know, where you have 20 tables and they each have 15 people at them and they all come at the same time.
And then you keep, for me, it's always, I'm like, oh, and I have a table over here, and they're all gone, and like the menus are scattered around because they left because it took me too long to get to them.
Yep.
Yeah.
People were getting up and leaving. But this was the first work nightmare that I've had ever where the first table of 8 people was friends of mine. And so I was like sitting down and like really taking too long. So when people were getting up and leaving, I was like, they're right. I should not be sitting here talking to my friends.
Yeah, it's like a common thing for people who work in restaurants to constantly have nightmares about work. There was a study a few years ago about the most stressful jobs you can have, and it was like neurosurgeon, heart surgeon, and then like bartender.
Yeah, top 5.
Yeah, and every time I say that, everyone's like, you people need to relax. And I'm like,
people.
it's not us, it's you people. It's you people acting like you can't wait 3 minutes for a martini.
It's just people.
Yeah.
But I mean,
one thing about Chatham I want to say real quick before we get too far away. All the houses have signs that with like names and stuff. And I've officially made it my dream to buy a house in a community where all the houses have names, and then just make a sign with just gibberish. Like shmur in the mirror.
why?
Because everyone would hate it, and I would love pissing off all those people.
I want to do what everyone hates. You heard it here on Wake Up.
It's like my favorite thing.
You guys, it being March 31st, it's also the final day of clamming for this season.
Yeah.
What time is low tide today? Oh, look, it's right there. Low tide is at 2:30 p.m. So, and it's actually really nice outside. It's a little cold. It's like 35 degrees, but it's sunny. So just, clam in the sun.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. This time of season is also the first signs of spring in Provincetown begin to happen. Most other places in New England view robins returning as the first sign of spring, but here in Provincetown, it's the return of pizza.
Yay!
Yeah.
Yesterday was Free Pizza Day at Spiritus.
Yeah.
The first day of the year, when they reopen, they always give pizza out to the community. It's such a sweet moment. Everybody's lined up for their slice. And then there's that person who's like, well, I always get free pizza because I worked here for 28 years. And I'm like, shut up. I don't always get free pizza.
Right.
But then your other favorite pizza place open too, right?
Twisted opened today as well.
Twisted's today.
Yes.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's spring, you guys. And also, are you going to get your parking pass this year?
I should.
You never have.
Never.
So it's time to get your annual parking sticker from the town.
Does that start in April?
Yeah, right? Yeah. It technically starts on April 1st when they can start ticketing you again for parking, not paying the meter and
Wait,
blah, blah, blah.
that's April 1st?
Yeah, they don't usually really start ticketing on April 1st.
Oh, I thought it was May
There's
1st.
like a kind of a grace period, so get your stickers before the imaginary grace period that doesn't really exist is over.
Yeah, I should do that.
Get your sticker. You get a free sticker for being on a board.
Yes.
And you don't get your sticker?
No. Well, I'm always like, I never drive in the summer, but then there's like that one rainy day where I have wake up and I drive in and then I get a ticket.
You get a ticket because you don't have a sticker that was free for you in the first place.
Yeah.
The wit and wisdom of Harrison Fish, ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen.
Should we show the video of the Spiritus?
Is that what we're doing?
Day?
Yeah, great.
This is.
South! Oh, she's busy.
She's like,
Mark, it's free pizza day. How's your pizza, Brian?
Delicious.
And free.
And free. Best kind of pizza.
The happiest day of the year.
always.
What flavor did you get?
I got pepperoni. I always get pepperoni. And unless I'm getting a whole pie, in which case I get the Spiritus special.
Yeah, obviously.
But it is officially spring. Yesterday was the first real day of spring because of Free Pizza Day.
Yeah.
Go say hi to Sophie and the team today.
Was it jam-packed?
There was a line of people. Like the inside was crowded. It was like bustling.
But it's like social. Everyone goes to like
you hear
chit-chat
like
and-
all these voices, and you can tell a bunch of these people hadn't seen each other in a while. Like that
Cute.
feeling.
Yeah.
Very very nice.
Yeah, it's exciting to see that back open. Should we talk about things?
Yeah. What's new around the world?
Well, this past Saturday, the Crown and Anchor hosted a drag event. A bunch of drag performers in town got together on the Crown and Anchor stage to perform for everyone, and it was super successful. They raised $7,000. That money's going to be split up between the performers and also the ACLU Drag Defense Fund. Yeah.
Way to go,
Yeah,
Crown
I heard it was an
team.
incredible show. Congratulations to all the performers. Yeah, and if you want to donate to the ACLU Drag Defense Fund, the link is in the description of our YouTube video.
There you go. There you have it. Thank
Yeah.
you, Andrew.
Yeah, it's getting really. I mean, these drag bans and restrictions are scary on the surface level, but then you start to really think about why, and it's like my opinion is that it's like fairly clearly like the stepping stone to further demonize trans people, and also like push queer people back into the dark nightclubs. So yeah, and it's like whenever politicians talk about like, oh, we'll talk about it in a second, but the TikTok ban that they were talking about in Congress, someone said TikTok is making kids trans, and when they say that, they're talking about something real that is indeed happening, but it's not TikTok making people trans. These kids are living in these homes with these parents that aren't supportive, are fairly abusive, are restricting what they're allowed to view, and then they go on TikTok and they start watching TV, and it's not turning them trans, it's them allowing them to see that that is an option for them, and it allows them to see themselves reflected back at them and able to discover themselves more.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, whether Will and Grace came out when I was 19 or had it come out when I was 4, I was gonna grow up and be gay anyway, no matter when I saw that gay content.
I mean, for me, I look back, there's often times where I watch things on TV and I was like, I can't imagine having seen this on TV when I was like 6 years old, 5 years old.
I wish.
Yeah. And it's also like, as these, like, especially in schools, like not being able to talk about transness or sexuality, all those things, it's like, I wish, I mean, not that I wish that were true, but like, you're gonna say people aren't allowed to talk about it, but like it was talked about when I was in school, but it was, the way it was talked about it was other people bullying me for it. You know what I mean? So is it gonna go back to like, oh, no one can talk about it in a positive way, but the bullies are still allowed to do it?
Right,
You know what
exactly,
I mean?
yeah.
So, Yeah.
2023.
Yeah.
We're living in the future, and it looks just like the past.
Yeah, it looks terrifying. More like the past every day.
Oh.
Okay. Oh, another thing I did this week. So I mentioned last week that Shadow and Bone had premiered, which is like a high fantasy show on Netflix, produced by one of my friends here in town, Josh Berry. Season 2 got released. I watched the trailer for it and was like, I don't know what's going on because I completely. Do you know when you watch a season, you watch it really quick, you binge it, and then like a year and a half later when the second season comes out, you're like, I don't remember anything that happened.
Yellow Jackets.
Right, exactly. So I rewatched the first season, made it to the second season, I'm a few seasons in, and there is the introduction of a gay couple. There was a character who was, one of the characters was gay, but it seems like they're turning it into like more of a couple in a romance. And what I thought was fun about it is they also began falling in love while playing the piano, which is it's very on trend of the moment for gay men to fall in love while playing a piano.
A new gay love trope.
Yeah. And also,
Thanks, Murray.
Yeah, what I love about it is there's an amount of gay representation on television, but not often twink representation. And this character is fully a twink, and not like Tom Holland's a twink, like a real twink.
Well, that's because high schoolers used to be played by people who were 27.
I
So
guess
even
that's
like the
true.
twinks were like full-grown adults. Not anymore.
Yeah, real twink representation. That's what we need.
Finally,
I
maybe
know.
things will change.
Right. But I'm having so much fun watching it. If you're a big fan of fantasies, like that kind of thing, you will definitely love it. It's a lot of fun.
Which platform is it on?
Netflix.
Netflix.
Yeah, it's French.
Okay.
What? Okay, we've got a few more local news stories. A big congratulations to our very dear friend here at Wake Up, Kristen Becker. She was one of the Modern Women of the Year by All Modern. All Modern is the like home furnishings company that did the big makeover over at the Summer of Sass House, and they made Kristen one of their Modern Women of the Year in honor of her philanthropic work. So big congratulations
Well
to
deserved.
Kristen, yeah, definitely 100%. Yeah. What?
Speaking of.
Oh, right. It's the second week in a row we haven't had Ethan. But Ethan is away still because him and Kristen are on their way to Boston to pick up a fresh Summer of Sasser.
They're picking up the new crew,
Their
the new
first one
class.
for the season. I think they're going to have a little less than 10 people coming to town through the Summer of Sass program, which is really incredible. In the past, I think it's been about 3 or 4 each year, but obviously because of the addition of this new property that they have, they're able to support a lot more people coming to Provincetown and getting away from the abusive environments that they were in.
I was wondering why the camera was so high. It's because Ethan's not behind it today. Did you jack it up there like that? I feel like
It's a better angle for us.
that is a better angle
Yeah,
for us.
really makes our chins
Ethan
look
has to
skinnier.
stand on his tiptoes from now on.
Yeah. Another local news, or not a local news story, but our friend Daniil was in an accident a few weeks ago while he was doing some landscaping work. I think a tree fell and hit him. I'm not exactly sure the details because in all the information I've read about this, they kind of make light of it in a fun way, so it's hard to really grasp what actually happened.
It was a very terrible injury. Skull
Yes.
fracture, broken vertebrae.
Yeah.
Like he's in bad shape.
Damaged ear bones, nerve damage in his face. And if you know Daniil, or even if you've seen him around town, you'll know that he is one of the sweetest people here in Provincetown. He is a shell fisherman, so if you've ever eaten scallops or oysters or anything like that in town, there's a probability that he had a hand in that. But Rebecca Orchant, also our friend, made a GoFundMe for him. The link is in the description of this YouTube video if you want to donate. Obviously, when things like this happen, medical bills are astronomical. They're not exactly sure how much his medical procedures are going to cost, so they chose an amount that they think will be good, but if there is extra money, they're going to redonate that back to good causes. So
Yeah, I mean, 6 days in the hospital.
not cheap.
No.
Yeah, and obviously it's going to be continued surgeries. I'd
Ambulance
imagine,
rides,
yeah.
tests, MRIs, CAT scans.
Yeah, so if you're able, donate some bucks. Yeah.
Hopefully he'll get to work at some point this summer, but this is like a many months long recovery process.
Yeah, exactly. But it seems like he has a really great community and friend group around him that is going to support him through this. So I've heard that the doctors are saying he's recovering exceptionally well. So our thoughts to you, and we will wish you well. Okay. Have you been paying attention to Gwyneth Paltrow's trial this week?
Yes,
It's so fun.
it is so fun.
So if you weren't paying attention, Gwyneth Paltrow got sued by a gentleman, he's an optometrist, in regards to a 2016 ski accident that happened in Utah.
That was 2016 when it happened?
Yeah. He's basically alleging that Gwyneth Paltrow was skiing recklessly and hit him, which caused broken ribs and a concussion. And the verdict came back yesterday, and he was suing her for $300,000. And the verdict came back yesterday. They favored on the side of Gwyneth Paltrow. She countersued for $1 because she doesn't need it.
Goop.
Yeah. But having watched it, what it seemed like and what a lot of other people's take on it is that he was like, they had a little collision, he hurt himself, he did, but then he was like, oh, I'm fine. And then someone was like, oh my God, you just hit Gwyneth Paltrow. And he was like, money?
He also crashed into her. Like, he
Right.
crashed into the back of her.
Yeah, he was alleging that she crashed into him, and one of the people in his party was corroborating that. But word is that he hit her from behind, which I don't ski, but I guess ski rules is like everyone has to pay attention, and you're kind of responsible for the people in front of you.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, everyone's facing down the mountain, so you have to be careful of the people in front of you because they can't be careful for
It's like
you.
driving. If you crash into the back of somebody, you're generally found at fault.
Yeah.
My favorite part was the lawyer, the prosecuting lawyer.
So good.
She was clearly like a Gwyneth fangirl. She's like, so I heard you're really good friends with Taylor Swift. And she's like, no. She's like, wait, you're not really good friends with Taylor Swift? And Gwyneth Paltrow was like, I mean, we know each other. I took my kids to one concert over. She's like, oh, well, I don't know why you... And somebody was like, objection. I'm like, what does this have to do with anything? Like, why are you talking about
My
this?
favorite was when they asked how tall she was. She's like 5'10", and she was like, oh, I'm so jealous. I have to put on 5-inch heels just to hit 5'4". And Gwyneth's like, well, they're very lovely shoes.
I'm like, why are you guys flirting with each other?
I love it.
Like, where's the guy? Like, all you see in these clips is Gwyneth and that female lawyer.
I was paying fairly close attention. I don't think I ever saw a picture of him.
And then did you see the Evan Ross Katz thing where it was like,
Yeah.
these are the 10 people who should probably play the lawyer in
Yeah.
the movie version of this?
I think he left out Sarah Paulson, and Sarah Paulson was like, how dare you?
And then the 10th slide was Gwyneth Paltrow. Like, Gwyneth should play that woman.
I think it was Zach Braff who commented and said, like, what if Gwyneth Paltrow just played every part?
Ooh, a return to serious acting for Gwyneth.
Would require her to be a really good actress.
Oh,
Are you talking about Academy Award winner Gwyneth Paltrow?
Yeah.
You don't think she's a very good actress?
She's Gwyneth Paltrow.
You clearly
Yeah.
never saw Talented Mr. Ripley.
Yeah.
I thought she was so good in that.
The same
She won
as
for,
she was in the Royal
Shakespeare in Love?
Yeah.
and the trial.
I feel like sometimes...
And the trial.
Yeah, sometimes people, especially actors, become themselves. They become too big to portray anything else. And I always think that about Nicole Kidman, and then I see her in things, I'm like, no, she's really good.
Nicole's really good.
Yeah.
I can't believe you don't like Gwyneth.
Not saying
Actually,
that Gwyneth
I can
isn't.
believe it.
Yeah,
I can
exactly.
totally believe Mark hates her.
I still remember from Can't Hardly Wait,
Yeah?
when they're like, you're so beautiful, you're like Gwyneth. You remember? And then she walks out and she's like, we don't really think she looks like Gwyneth, right? No? You don't
No,
remember?
I don't remember that.
Okay.
Did they say that to Lauren Ambrose?
No.
Lauren,
J-Lo Hugh.
Lauren Ambrose, by the way, who just joined the second season of Yellow Jackets, Trevor. Stan. I love Lauren. I love Yellow Jackets.
No, it was J-Lo Hugh.
J-Lo you.
Yeah. So, if you are in the market for some high-end real estate in LA, today is the day to do it.
Why?
So, in the 2022 election, by 58% of the vote voted for a mansion tax, which is called Measure ULA. So basically what this does, any home or commercial property that is sold over $5 million, there's a 4% tax on that, and anything over $10 million, there is a 5.5% tax on it. All of this money is expected to raise around $1 billion, and it's gonna all go towards fighting homelessness in LA.
Aw.
Yeah. But because of this, everyone is trying to, if they were thinking about selling, they're trying to sell it by today. So there's houses that are being dropped by like $10 million. There was one house that was been on the market for like the last 5 or 6 months at 48. I think the one in the picture, if the picture's up, it was on the market for $48 million, and then they dropped it by, I think, 12 million, which is 3 million less than he bought it for 2 years ago.
Oof.
Yeah.
It's a business loss.
Yeah, so it's really going to change the real estate market in LA, especially considered it's just LA, so it doesn't affect like Orange County. Like,
Right.
so I'm interested to see how it changes the market out there.
I mean, we're going to find out tomorrow.
Yeah, but it's great that California is hopefully going to raise billions of dollars a year to fight homelessness.
I mean, and if you've been in LA recently, it's like tent city after tent
Yeah.
city. Everywhere you look, it's homeless people.
Yeah. I have one more story.
Go, do it.
Are you watching any of the NCAA tournaments?
No.
NCAA,
I
I'm sorry,
don't.
you scolded me last time.
NCAA? No,
Yeah.
I do not. I do not follow NCAA sports.
I pay attention just because I went to UConn and grew up about 20 minutes from UConn's campus. And they, just growing up in the 90s and the 2000s, it's been so fun to watch. The women's program is incredible. The men's program is incredible. The men are in the Final Four or the Elite Eight, I think. The women, unfortunately, have lost, which I feel bad for that program because it's like if they don't win, it's like an utter failure. Like if they're not winning every single year. But what's really incredible about this year for the women's NCAA season, we can't call it March Madness because the NCAA made a point of not allowing the women's program to refer to their tournament as March Madness because they thought it would damage the brand. So fucked up.
Somebody just sighed deeply.
Right. But they're showing them. So basically, of the 4 highest rated women's basketball games that have happened in the last 15 years, 3 of them have happened this year. So not even this season, in the last 2 or 3 months.
Right.
The women's NCAA tournament is having higher ratings than any NBA game that was on ESPN this year. So like, their ratings are killing it. People are really interested. I feel like one of the biggest reasons is there's a lot more parity happening in women's basketball this year.
Parody, like making fun of it?
No, like competition.
Oh, parity.
Yes.
Not parody.
No, sorry, I'm from Connecticut. I have trouble with those hard T's in the middle of words.
It's okay.
Because it used to be like 1 or 2 teams were really the only people that had a chance at winning, but now there's a lot more competitiveness. And one of the biggest stars of this season is Caitlin Clark. She is having a really incredible season. She's led Iowa, her team, to the Final Four, and she's had a really incredible tournament run. Early in the tournament, one of the opposing team's student section started chanting "overrated" in the pregame while they were warming up, and she just was kind of like laughing it off and like kind of encouraging them, like, yeah, sure, overrated, let's see. And then she went on to score 44 points in that game, which is astronomical and amazing. And in the clip I saw, they then like cut back to the student section and they were all like, and then a few games later, she achieved a 40-point triple-double, which is the first time that's ever in men's or women's college basketball in the tournament. So a triple-double is when you hit double digits in the big 3 stats, which is assists, blocks, rebounds, and points. And she scored. So all you have to do is get more than 10 in all those categories, and she scored 42 points that game. Wow. Yeah. So. Definitely one to be watched. She's being called the Steph Curry of women's basketball. They're saying she's going to be like the best female basketball player ever. So, yeah.
Wow, I
Really
hope they make
exciting
it to the
stuff.
end. I hope they win. If you lose with that person on your team, that means everyone else is a dummy.
No. I mean, every single woman on any of these teams is like the most incredible basketball player. There's obviously a few standouts, like always, but
I obviously don't know what I'm talking about because it's basketball.
yeah. But I just love seeing women's sports get their due, and it's really fun and interesting. So check it out. I think both tournaments are in the Elite Eight. There's gonna be a lot of fun games. I think UConn men are playing tomorrow, so check it out.
Is that news from around the world?
Yeah, that's it.
We should probably check in with our weather girl, Ann Hutchinson, to see what the conditions are going to be this weekend.
Hello everyone, it's your weather Anne, and today the weather is way there. The weather is way there today, but don't worry, the skies will be opening up for you again this weekend when you can climb the monument again for the season. Okay, enough. That ethnocentric eyesore does not need any more attention. It's already the tallest thing in town. Imagine if I stood outside every day, open to the elements, pretending to be something that I'm not. I would never do that. That would be ridiculous. Instead, let's go look at a gorgeous vista of beautiful Provincetown second homes. And as we walk down to this vista, I'm going to tell you something I learned recently. As a renowned weather person, I found it very interesting to learn that some people wake up and check the weather for 2 separate locations. I thought, has technology really evolved to the point where you can be 2 people at once? Wow, that's a lot. And then I realized, oh, it's just one person checking in on another person in another location. Some people have friends, Anne, you know, like maybe a second homeowner is checking in on a 0 homeowner in Provincetown on the weather just to see what sort of elements they're experiencing outside. And that's a very liberal thing, that's a very caring thing. Provincetown's a very liberal place. It's so liberal that when something could be tried to help people with 0 of something, people with 2 of something step in right away and they try that thing, no questions asked. Okay, on a completely separate issue, I do just want everyone to know that I think I have found a solution to Provincetown's housing crisis, okay? Some viewers may be interested to learn that even after paltry payments to natives in the colonial period, no one was allowed to own land out here. In fact, for over 2/3 of Provincetown's colonized history, Massachusetts owned the land, and everyone out here was essentially squatters until 1893, when Massachusetts gave that land to the people who were out here. Okay, my point is, the solution to the housing crisis is just fucking squat. Squat in the sand dunes, squat in someone's lawn until the socialist state of Massachusetts steps in and gives that land to you for free. Okay, back to you, Bob and Harrison, and I think Mr. Morse is there today. Just give him good tidings from me. Hello, Mr. Morse.
Sounds like it's looking sunny, according to Ann Hutchinson.
Right. Please welcome Tim Famulare.
Welcome back to the show,
Back
Tim.
again.
How are you?
This is my debut.
Are you
No
serious?
way.
Yeah.
No.
How can that be?
Really?
Oh, well,
That-
thank you.
That blows my mind. I can't believe that.
Welcome.
No, it's just this and Terry Gross, and then my bucket list is checked off.
Perfect, perfect.
When are you talking to Terry Gross?
Someday.
Perfect.
Manifest it. Put it out into the
Yeah.
universe.
So we wanted you to come on to talk a little about Article 9D, as it involves the breakwater.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most people, the West End breakwater, it's a sort of a fixture of town.
Yeah.
But in recent years, people may have been noticing that the marsh behind it has been dying, essentially just becoming a mud flat. A study had been done back in 2015 by the Army Corps of Engineers, which installed that breakwater back in the early 1900s. And since then, with sea level rise, the marsh has slowly been sinking. So there was a study to look into whether an opening in the dike might help prevent that. That didn't really go very far. Since that time, the collapse has just been accelerating very rapidly, and that's due to the proliferation of a community of crabs, purple marsh crabs. They are native species, but unfortunately, the breakwater is keeping their predators out, essentially. So their population is booming. They eat the salt marsh grass that causes the peat and the mud to decay and essentially become a mud flat.
Oh boy.
So what 9D would do is look at a study, sort of advance the studies as to whether an opening or openings in the dike might help alleviate that problem by allowing fish predators in. But it's also going to be looking at other alternatives. If that's found to not be a viable option, what else might we be able to do to control that crab population?
What are their natural predators?
Striped bass, cunner, tautog, basically fish.
Gotcha.
Right, right. They are nocturnal. They only come out at night. So
What are the crabs that you have to avoid when you're walking to Boy Beach then?
those are probably fiddler crabs, the ones with the really big claw.
Yeah.
The one
They're like
bigger,
kind of small and purple.
Right.
Popeye.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They don't eat the grass.
Oh, good,
Those
good,
are,
good, good.
those are friendly crabs.
I was gonna say I'll step on them while I'm going to Boy Beach.
They're fast.
They
Those
really
guys
are.
As long as this article isn't trying to get us to call the breakwater the Long Point Dike.
No, that's just what the Army Corps calls it, and
That's
how
not like,
it's-
but I read it in the paper. It's like that's the official name of it.
Yeah.
Well, it's technically not a breakwater, right?
No.
That's right. Yeah, breakwaters are connected to land. So the one at the end of the pier is a breakwater.
That's a breakwater,
Yeah.
right?
Oh.
A
This
dike
is a
connects one
jetty or a
body of
dike, yeah.
land to- one landform to another landform.
The more you know.
Got it. What might the potential drawbacks of opening it up be?
Well, that's what this study will do.
Okay.
It will look at sort of what the potential benefits are and what the drawbacks might be. Part of the study will include hydraulic modeling. So what that means is if we put a big 10-foot wide hole in the dike, will that sort of create currents that might be dangerous to swimmers or kayakers? Will it erode the shellfish beds on either side of it?
Oh, right.
So if that is the case, they would look at maybe smaller openings, maybe not as deep. So that's one option. But we'll be looking into other alternatives as well that might not include modifications to the breakwater itself.
I feel like a lot of people are often wondering, like, just as a regular people, like if I'm kayaking, I'm like, oh, is this hurting this? Like, what can I do personally, just as a regular person, to like, conserve our, beautiful marshes?
Well, I think that kayaking is a great way to experience the marsh. It's very low impact. The main point is to not walk in the grass itself. I think we all know the paths out to Herring Cove and Boy Beach, and that is, that's there. Stay on the paths. Don't create new ones.
Yeah.
It is a very fragile ecosystem, but it is resilient in the face of coastal storms. But human feet, it doesn't do well.
I'm known for scolding people for walking on the grass at Boy Beach.
Thank you.
It often is like, because not that I'm not nice about it, I'm not mean about it, but I'm not nice about it. And I've made people very uncomfortable. But I was just writing something about Boy Beach, and one of my points was, like, when you get to that point where there's the break in the, like, this grass.
Yeah.
It's like, I know everyone wants to walk on the sides because it's less messy and like you don't have to walk in the water, but you're killing more and it keeps winding up.
Right.
And my point was, if you don't want to get dirty, you shouldn't be going to Boy Beach anyway, because what's the point?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your new committee assignment.
Oh, sure. I've been the town environmental planner since 2017, and I was recently promoted to be the director of the community development department. So that oversees planning, building, zoning, Board of Health, housing, licensing.
Wow.
So yeah, it's very exciting. We have a great team of colleagues down there. I'm really honored.
That's really incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you. If I can also point out Article 9B, our Coastal Resilience Plan. We've recently formed a Coastal Resilience Advisory Committee. This is one of their, basically the main task of that committee is to develop a capital improvement plan for coastal resilience projects.
Great.
So we're asking for about $300,000 that will help us hire a team of consultants and engineers to really look at what kind of infrastructure improvements we can make to mitigate the damage that we see from coastal flooding.
Wow.
So that's a great team of people. A lot of friends of the brewery, a lot of friends of Wake Up are on the committee. They're really engaged, and we're looking to get that underway in July, assuming that 9B passes as well. And we're actually modeling this after Nantucket's Coastal Resilience Plan.
Oh, great.
And if you stay tuned to the select board agendas, as I know many of your watchers do, we will be hearing from the Nantucket Coastal Resilience Planner about their plan and what it could bring, what a model like that could bring to Provincetown.
Speaking about mitigating flood damage, is there any update on the Ryder Street dune?
Yes, we've gotten a grant to finalize our design and monitoring and maintenance program. It is going to be a sort of a living solution. It will shift with wind and waves. So how do we maintain it for the long term?
Right.
We're doing some sort of final design and engineering, and we're hoping to go to construction this fall and winter.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So we'll see you Monday at town meeting, eh?
Yes. Great.
Like
See you
everybody
all there,
that writes an article, you have to you have to be the first person that speaks on the article, right? Are you going to speak on Monday at the
Not
mic?
necessarily.
You don't want to?
If there are
Come on,
questions,
Tim.
I'll get up there.
Terry Gross is going to be there.
Okay, then.
Oh, jeez.
Well, thanks for coming on and
Yeah.
chatting with us for
Really
a few
important
minutes.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you Monday, 9B and 9D, you guys. We'll see you Monday, a lot of you, hopefully, at town meeting. I know it's already time.
Yeah.
Thanks, we'll
Thank
see
you very much.
Should we check in with Tin Pan?
Yeah, here's Jack Kelly and Tin Pan Alley. Jack Kelly, a dear old friend of mine. Jackie, thanks for making some time to come talk to us.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Congratulations on your 10th anniversary.
40, I think. No.
It feels like 40, doesn't it? Well, when you're open all year, it probably does feel longer, right?
Yes.
How are the first 10?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. I mean, ups and downs. COVID didn't help, and just everything else. But
by far better than I ever expected.
And I mean, thank you for being here all year for the community and keeping some of our favorite performers employed all year.
Yeah,
It's nice that we can hear live music any day of the week.
exactly.
In Provincetown.
It's important.
And you guys started that. There was nobody really doing that before you did it.
Right, there hasn't been a day that we've been opened that there wasn't music there.
That's amazing.
In 10 years, not a single day. If somebody was sick, we got somebody.
Mhm.
I called you a couple of them.
I was here on Monday and everybody was singing with Jim Brousseau and they were like, why don't you sing something with him? And I was like, you know, at that point after like 40 cocktails where you're like, I probably won't sound very good, so I'm just gonna not.
Plus, you like to be ready and rehearsed
Yeah.
and be perfect.
I like to be prepared. Why don't you sing with them more often?
I just am always, I used to, I know, and I'm just, Monday nights I'm kind of at both places during the summer, and then off season I try to take Monday night off.
Right.
So,
Okay. And now you've got the post office going, the post
Yeah.
office cabaret and cafe.
open Saturday.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Great season lined up.
Great season, yeah, yep.
Good.
Excited. A lot of people coming back from last year, and then some new people too, so we're excited.
And what you guys might not know is that Jack and I met when we were both working at the Red Inn together. So before you opened Tin Pan,
Right.
you were a bartender at the Red Inn.
Right, we started the exact same day washing windows.
That's right.
Exact same day we showed up.
2011.
Yeah.
We came with the renovation.
Yes, with the renovation. We bonded immediately with our sarcasm.
And so, after a couple of summers of that, like, what was the impetus to start your own thing?
I owned a restaurant when I was 29, done restaurant my whole life, and I got out of it, got into sales for a while, and I just turned 50 and moved to town, and I knew if I didn't do it then, I probably wouldn't do it at all, so I started looking when I was about 48 in Boston and here, and then when this space became available, and I had just started dating Paul, I had said, you might want to run, because I'm doing a restaurant.
Now you own 2 restaurants.
And he actually
together.
said, I'll jump off the cliff with you, the first response.
So sweet.
After like 7 months of dating.
And you're still falling off that same cliff.
Exactly.
Just waiting to hit the ground someday.
Well, I hit it a couple of times. See?
On the way down. No, but by and large, it's all going really well.
Unbelievable.
And I mean, it must be nice to be right across from Town Hall. So
Totally.
You're off on Monday,
Yep,
so you'll be at the town meeting.
absolutely.
Because I feel like everybody's gonna come over here to scream at each other and get a drink.
Double drinks.
Is that what happens?
Double drinks. I'll have 3. And
I think this is gonna be a wild one. No opinions?
No.
Okay.
Off camera we'll talk.
All right. Excellent. So tell us a little bit about the party you've got going on Tuesday.
Yeah, so actually the party is on the exact date we opened.
Mhm.
And we're opening at the exact same time, 5 o'clock. When we opened 10 years ago, Jim Brousseau was playing, Chef Hardy was singing. Unfortunately, I don't think Chef will be here, but Jim's gonna be playing when we open the doors. And we're gonna put a tent up out back. The tent will be back up by then. And Mike Flanagan, we're gonna get rid of all the tables. We have a martini luge out there. And
Nice.
Mike Flanagan's gonna be playing out there with whoever. He has invited anyone that's ever performed here to come and either hang out here or hang out back, sing, play, whatever. So there's really no set thing. Billy and Darlene will start their regular gig at 7, but from 5 to 7 it'll be whoever wants to jump in. So we got all kinds of fun stuff going on too. We got all past hors d'oeuvres, but it's kind of like an opening party.
Like we used to do.
Like we used to do, at a lot of places. So, but we figured, after 10 years, we should really throw a party to thank everyone. Because honestly, I mean, it's been so amazing. We have so many great regular customers, and like the invitation says, if you've never been here, come for the party. We just want to thank the town and make it really special and nice.
One of my favorite things about this poster, it says, if you're a regular, you're invited. If you've never been here, you're invited. If we've had a falling out, you're still invited. That's really funny.
Well, you know what? It happens in this town. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it happens everywhere.
It's
And
gonna happen on Monday over there. Maybe not for us, but I mean,
There'll be people coming in with bruises on Tuesday.
seriously, what hatches?
No, but I thought it was important because I was thinking if say we had a falling out and you were at home thinking I wonder if I should go or can't go or what. I always wonder.
Absolutely.
Now they know, like, yeah, just come. I mean, life's
Everyone's
too short.
invited.
Everyone's
Life
invited.
is too short.
Yeah, it is too short. And it's like, what? I was thinking about it and I said, Paul, I don't know how to word it, whatever, but I just wanted people to know, like, even if there's a customer that gets shut off or it's kind of like a fresh beginning.
Mm-hmm.
10 years is going to start over, and if there's issues or problems, I don't have anything with anybody, and if they do with me, that's okay. They don't have to come or with Paul. But I just wanted them to know they were welcome.
That's really nice. And back when the Red Inn was doing these opening parties, it really felt like the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
The whole town shows up, and it's like
Yeah.
a really nice community vibe.
And that's what, when I was saying, when we decided to have it, I said, it's like the perfect timing, you know, you can smell the paint and hear the saws and people, you know, coming back, and so it'll be kind of cool, because it is right around the same time, coincidentally, that we opened. So I was like, let's just do the party and make it a blast, you know? So,
And I guess if Jim's playing, maybe I can finally do a number with
there
him.
you go.
I'll
There you
text
go.
him. I'll send something up. But everybody show up here next Tuesday, April 4th at 5 for a big 10-year thank you party to the community. Thanks so much for chatting with us.
Thank you so much.
And I'll see you over there on Monday and over here Monday and Tuesday.
Well, yeah, Monday night for doubles.
For doubles.
After that,
Right.
and Tuesday for the party.
Yeah. I love you.
Thank you so much. I love you too.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
So you guys go over to Tin Pan Alley this Tuesday, April 4th at 5 p.m. until the fun stops, which is never in Provincetown.
Yeah. Well, like January. I'm just
Well,
kidding.
please welcome back to the show our town manager, Alex Morse. We haven't seen you since, I mean, your
Only
first
been a
time
year.
on the show was when you first got to town, right?
Yeah, my first Friday 2 years ago I was here. Yeah.
Welcome back.
I think my third time on the show, so happy to be here.
So 2 years in,
Yep.
how's it going?
It's been a wonderful 2 years. Grateful for the community for welcoming me. Great team at Town Hall. I feel like we've gotten a lot of great initiatives underway, projects happening, things that have been long stalled, and I'm happy to be here. So.
I mean, we've all seen over. I've been here 8 years, and I've seen that it's a very tough position. How's that been? Just like people put a lot on.
Yeah,
you.
no, I remember when I first got the job, and then I moved here, and I think when I showed up for my second day at Town Hall, everybody was like, "Oh, thank God you came back."
Second day.
And like people warning me, and then but what I found is like we have such a wonderful team at Town Hall. The community of residents that live here year round is super special. Our tourists, and so I love here. Every season's different. I had never been here in the off season before. I came as just the typical tourist, like for a weekend or a week during the summer. And I think my first fall and winter here is when I really fell in love with the place and it started to feel like home. And that has only grown over the last couple of years. So.
Great.
But I mean, I, who hold no public office and sit on no boards, was stopped at the grocery store
Not
for about
pulling his
40
weight.
minutes. No, people being like, I want to talk to you about Articles 18 through 20. And I was like, this must happen to you every day. Like somebody being like, excuse me, can I talk to you about blah, 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 blah?
A little bit, and that's when my boyfriend Jake sort of rushes out of the store, and then I'm like, where did he go?
Jake!
I'm like stuck in aisle 10.
You're supposed to save him.
You're the bodyguard, Jake.
Yeah.
Shoo them away like rats.
Yeah, that's when you Sex in the City it and call and say something bad happened.
Yeah,
Oh
we're
my
like
God, did something
pretend-
bad happen?
Pretend to look at something you're not going to buy. Very focused.
Or you're with your cart and you're like, you're doing this
Yeah.
to try to get out of the conversation,
Yeah.
and the
No,
person's
I
just like,
enjoy
"Whoa,
talking
whoa,
to
whoa."
people, and it's that time of year. Town meeting's only a few days away, and people are plugging in and paying attention, and that's what's great about this town. So.
What do you think are some of your biggest successes over the past 2 years?
I think a number of things. I think we've brought in a sense of like progress, and I think government has become more transparent. We've improved our communication with the public. I think we've rebuilt a lot of trust. When you think about things like the police station and being transparent about the price increase, and so just over the last 2 years, we have the police station under construction. We're poised to start building 65 year-round apartments at the old VFW. We've changed zoning policies to encourage more dense residential developments on Shane Painter. We've recruited some really great talent at Town Hall, and I just think there's a better sense of civility with the select board, with the community, with town staff. And I think we are laying out a vision for the town that people have gotten really excited about and want to be part of. So I think we're in a very good place. There's a lot of momentum happening. I think we're uniting around our town priority of housing. There's a number of housing-related articles on the warrant again this year on Monday, and excited to continue moving the ball forward.
So last Friday, I don't know if you saw the show last Friday, but we had on the two guys who wrote Articles 18, 19, and 20.
Yeah.
Just to explain what they were in detail and why they chose to write them. Because I wasn't even sure exactly what they meant and how they were different and how they were similar. And I understand that the select board voted 4-1 against these articles. And we want to know why. Like, what is the select board's position on Articles 18 through 20?
Yeah, so I think what I can do is lay out a series of facts regarding short-term rentals and what the articles do, and I'd make it very clear that these articles aren't sponsored by town staff, they're not sponsored by the select board. any registered voter in town can get upwards of 10 signatures to place an article on an annual town meeting warrant. So Article 18, 19, and 20 are citizen petitions related to regulating, restricting, and capping short-term rentals. And so, what I say is, first, thank Michael and Paul for being engaged, and I think we all acknowledge that there's a housing crisis in town, and the town boards, the select board, town staff have made housing our number one priority. I think the articles themselves, I think they're well-intentioned, and I want to make that very clear. I do think that they need to go through more of a public process. Just over the last few months, we've improved our registration process. So, when I got here, we had one rental certificate, whether or not you're short-term renting or long-term renting. We now have two separate distinct certificates. We just brought on Granicus, a short-term rental compliance firm that's helping us get better data. Right now we have upwards of 1,400, 1,500 short-term rentals that have been actively listed in Provincetown over the last 12 months. Yet we only have upwards of 800 that are registered with the town. So they're registered with the state, they're paying the rooms tax, but we need a little bit more time to improve our data, bring hundreds of short-term rentals into compliance. And I think for us, it's 18, 19, and 20 really focus on sort of a stick rather than a carrot, restrictions, regulations, when I really think we need to explore policies that provide incentives for people that are weighing whether or not they want a short-term rent or long-term rent. And what we haven't seen is any data to suggest that these bylaws would actually increase our year-round rental supply and housing inventory. And so we all understand there's a crisis. I mentioned before there's a number of housing-related articles on the warrant, money to go towards the 65 apartments at the VFW, funds to make our two town-owned sites, both 288 Bradford Street and the current site of the police station, 26 Shane Painter, available for housing. We're hoping to get upwards of 30, 36 one-bedroom or studio apartments there. And I just think, for the citizen petitions, we'll likely have a robust debate on Monday night. I think there is an opportunity here, and the select board is interested in convening a working group, continuing our housing workshops, bringing the petitioners and people on all sides of the issue together to build consensus as to how we address short-term rentals.
I mean, the state has allowed municipalities to regulate short-term rentals since about 2018.
Yeah.
Why are we now 5 years later just starting to talk about studies to get data around this?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I wasn't here in 2018, and when it comes to short-term rentals, the time to really regulate and get ahead of the impact would have been, 5 years ago. But there have always been short-term rentals in town. Before Airbnb, before VRBO, they were oftentimes managed by realtors here, weekly rentals. I think, there's potentially some unintended consequences that, will these citizen petitions actually address the problem, and is there data to suggest that? So right now we contracted with the UMass Donahue Institute to conduct an analysis of the impact of short-term rentals on Provincetown now, the impact on tourism, real estate values, inventory and supply of year-round housing in the community, and then it's actually looking at the specific proposals that were introduced by the petitioners. Would they make an impact? Would they lead to more year-round housing in Provincetown? And so, when you think about a younger second homeowner that, lives in Boston and has a place here and needs to short-term rent it to pay their mortgage, if they can't short-term rent it, they're not necessarily going to rent it year-round because they want to enjoy their second home, right? And so what we do worry about is consolidating short-term rentals in the hands of those that have the most resources, that we restrict supply, and so prices go up even higher than they are now, and then the community of folks that come here is even more exclusive than it has been. And so I think there's an opportunity here to bring everyone to the table and come back to town meeting in the future with solutions that actually address the problem, and that discuss policies that will actually create housing for people here in the community.
Like I said, you've been able, like municipalities in Massachusetts have been able to regulate since 2018, and we've seen, municipalities in the state of Massachusetts and also all over the country, especially communities that are similar to Provincetown, Key West, Palm Springs, Vail, Aspen. Why do you think, though, I know you haven't been here since 2018, but why do you feel like all of these other places have taken action and Provincetown hasn't? Like you say that these articles aren't town sponsored, they haven't been brought forward by the select board. Why is it that the select board and town leadership isn't being more proactive, and now it's become like local citizens are now so fired up about it that they are having to write these articles?
Yes, so over the last few years, the town and the Board of Health have worked to register short-term rentals, to up inspections. I think we've been focusing on policies and inventory, and so how do we increase the supply of year-round housing in deed-restricted units? And so that's putting shovels on the ground and building more housing. Yes, we have empty homes in town, and what policies can we implement that would actually do that? I think even before these citizen petitions came up, the town was talking about what is the impact of short-term rentals. But the focus of the town over the last few years has been building more units, altering zoning, policies, bylaws to encourage year-round housing. Another article on Monday night is to create a home rule petition to create a program where the town can purchase deed restrictions from homeowners that promise to have year-round residency. And I think in the months to come, we're going to talk about, again, rather than restrict, how can we incentivize someone that has a second home to rent year-round rather than short-term rent? And so if someone can make $50,000, $60,000 in 3 months in the summer and only make $25,000, $30,000 by renting year-round, can the town somehow figure out a program where we're providing a subsidy or an incentive for people to rent year-round? And we can do that without restricting short-term rentals and having an impact on our economy. And so I think we just want a series of facts that all of us can agree on to have a more robust conversation about the policies we should implement.
It's just, I don't know about you, but I get no less than 5 texts a week from somebody who's like, I'm getting kicked out of my place in less than a month or so that my landlord can turn this apartment into an Airbnb. And I know people that have been in the same apartment for 25 years, and they move out, and then less than a week later, it's an Airbnb. It's just happening so fast that I think the 2 people who wrote those articles are like, did you remember that scene from the movie Network where it's like, I'm mad as hell and I'm not gonna take this anymore? People are getting so mad and so upset because it does feel like, we say this kind of every year, we're reaching a tipping point where pretty soon there's not gonna be enough people living here to work at the grocery store or the clinic. And I know there's an article proposing to raise money so that people can to have a solid commute from Eastham all the way out to Provincetown. But just from what from anecdotal evidence and from what I personally know, anybody who can get an apartment in Eastham is probably going to work in Eastham. We're not going to get people commuting to Provincetown from these other towns. I had lunch in Brewster yesterday, and the bartender was like, it's as bad here as it is in Provincetown. He said, I've been here forever, and I'm having a hard time finding a solid place to live. We're not going to get people from other towns to commute to work here. So as the workforce continues to dwindle and restaurants are closed 1 or 2 days a week, even in high season, it feels like there's not enough time to wait for these studies to take place. It's that's how I know a lot of people feel. So
it feels like it's already too late.
It does feel like it's already too late. So how do you plan on Monday to convince people to wait?
Yeah, so I disagree with the premise that we're waiting. I think the town has really taken the lead when you look at Cape Cod in general and the Outer Cape in particular. When you think about the low-income housing inventory, for example, so all communities are required in Massachusetts to have 10% of their housing stock be directed at affordable. Provincetown is at 9.5%. Wellfleet and Truro are at 3 or 2%.
Right.
And so that's a product of select boards and administrations past really getting us to that 10%. But it's just a number. We know in reality that we have a crisis, that people are getting displaced. And no one is disagreeing with that premise. But we need to provide housing that's deed restricted. Again, the 65 year-round units at the VFW. We're looking at upwards of 30, 35 units at the current site at the police station. We're working with Patrick at the barracks to hopefully put a shovel in the ground this summer there with 12 dorm bed seasonal housing plus 16 units of year-round housing. And so there are active things happening in town. Harbor Hill, this town made a $12 million investment to have market rate rentals available to people in this community that made a little bit too much for affordable housing.
Right.
So I think there are policies. I think when you look at 18, 19, and 20, it's not that there's not support for that, is it actually going to help accomplish our goals? Are folks now going to, we're already hearing of ways in which people are strategizing if they do pass, how to get around them.
Right.
Getting a long-term certificate and renting, 30 days or more. And so if someone can't rent for 3 months and make, a week at a time for 3 months, they can rent the whole place for 3 months for X amount of dollars, and it's more of a timeshare model. And so how do we actually take a close look at policies that all of us can get behind that are actually, again, going to solve our challenge?
I mean, it's my personal opinion that the real estate market in this town is what is, it's hard to use such hyperbolic language, but like destroying the community, because there is no, like you look at someone like Bob and Peter worked in town, they saved money and they bought a place and now this is their home and it's going to be their life here. I feel like there is no opportunity for that anymore. Like, I don't think there's a single person who works in this town who could ever afford to own a home in this town anymore because of the astronomical cost of home values. And once again, this is my opinion, but I feel like that is because of specifically short-term rentals. Home values aren't based, like where probably 40 years ago, home values were based on what you could make in town and live in town. And then it slowly became what you could rent it for. And now home values have exploded because they're not based on how much you can rent it for a year or how much you can afford to live in it. It's now, this house is worth $1 million because you can rent it for $4,000 a week. And as someone who would hypothetically like to build a life here, it's become impossible because of that. So how do you feel like if this remains unchecked, how does the community survive?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's incredibly difficult and complicated, and values here have made it inaccessible for the vast majority of people that live here and work here. We see it at Town Hall, our inability to recruit talent, and how can people afford to live here or buy a home here or build a family here if they want to move here and work for the town. And so we see that challenge every single day, and I think we agree on that, and we want people to have that opportunity. But ownership, the challenge you're spelling out now isn't unique to Provincetown. It's happening in major metropolitan areas, small towns, big cities all across the country. What we're advocating for, and there's a lot of subsidy for affordable rental housing, there's not a lot of government subsidy at the state and federal level for affordable home ownership. The only way the town right now is getting affordable home ownership opportunities is through our inclusionary zoning bylaw. And so that's another thing we need to look at. There's vacant pieces of land being sold in this town for over $1 million, $2 million. And because of our zoning, the only thing that can be built on those parcels are huge single-family homes, when we should be incentivizing multifamily, multi-unit development that's available to people in our community. And so it is a challenge. I think, again, these bylaws won't change that scenario around values and the value of affordable homes, expensive homes in the community. So again, I think we need to take a close look at those bylaws. There's pieces of it that we should talk about, that we should consider. But again, I think there's an opportunity here to bring everyone to the table and come back with solutions to our actual challenge. Our town priority, town goal isn't regulating short-term rentals. It's how do we create more year-round housing in our community, and we just want to make sure that these policies would do that.
I mean, I do see a path from these types of policies to the value of homes in this town. I mean, you mentioned earlier the people that live in Boston and have a second home here and are using short-term rentals as a way that they can afford it. If the short-term rentals are limited and we're at our max and someone wants to buy a second home in Provincetown, they now cannot afford it because they're not unable to rent it, which in turn lowers property value. Like, I see how these could eventually get to a point of making home ownership more viable in this town.
Yeah. I mean, even these bylaws grandfather everyone that has a short-term rental certificate. They grandfather folks that have many short-term rental certificates. The petitioner himself has 5 short-term rental certificates. So, and all of those would be grandfathered. And so I think, again, we need to have a discussion about who's eligible, who isn't, how do we implement policies that would actually impact the challenge we're facing.
I do have a really good friend who has been arguing that he's like, we can't pick an arbitrary number like 1,500 and cap short-term rentals at that number. He thinks that a better take on this would be a percentage of rentals. Like, do you know of any municipality where they like picked a percentage that like sounded reasonable that would work here?
Percentage that
Like what percentage of the rental stock should be short-term rentals in a town where we want people who live and work here to be able to stay? Because I think, like, I mean, do you know how many rental units there are right now total? Does anybody know?
I think just over 300, 400 or so. I'm
Yeah.
Those are
not-
year-round rentals.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I'm just thinking like, let's say the town has 3,000 rental units total, including seasonal, year-round, and short-term rentals. Like my friend is suggesting that we take that number 3,000 and pick a percentage and be like, well, only 30% of these can be short-term rentals. Like that's what he wants to maybe put forth on next year's town warrant. Like, do you think that's a better idea? Like, what would that percentage be? Like, it just seems to me, based on all what I'm seeing, that number already feels like it's 50 to 75%. And I'm like,
it's already too high of a percentage.
right. So like, you know, I'm like, if we pick a percentage, that I feel like will take STRs away from people, whereas these articles are trying not to take anything away from somebody who's already doing it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So like, what would that percentage be? Like, what percentage do you think of all rentals should be STRs?
I don't have a prescription. I think, you know, my job is to lay out the facts for voters of this town, the challenge ahead of us, what we're doing to address those challenges, and ultimately it's up to the voters of the town, and that's why we have the citizen petition process. But I think, you know, there's a reason our year-round market rate rental housing trust, the affordable housing trust, you know, are some of our biggest housing advocates that are working day in and day out on these volunteer committees advocating for housing development also examine these policies and are not recommending them on Monday either, because we think there's an opportunity to build policies that actually increase our supply of year-round housing in the community. So I think that's where we are at this point.
Do you think that the passage of these, the possible passage of these, could adversely affect the building of future affordable housing?
What do you mean?
So like, I mean, this friend who I'm talking about, who shall remain nameless, he's like vehemently anti 18 through 20, and he's like, if these pass, it's going to de-incentivize developers from building affordable units. And I don't really know the way his mind got to that, but like, I'm just asking you because I don't know. Like if we pass these, is it going to keep affordable housing from being built, aside from the things that are already in the works? Like, do you think that would de-incentivize developers from like including affordable units in whatever they're proposing?
The citizen petitions don't impact our inclusionary bylaws. So right now, if someone goes to build a number of units in town, 1 of every 6 needs to be affordable to be able to get the density bonuses and things like that. So that is not being impacted by that. I think we need to continue to tweak that bylaw. You know, for example, the only thing we're requiring in the inclusionary bylaw right now is an affordable home ownership unit. And so one thing we want to look at is, can we also include incentives to build worker housing, to build year-round rental housing in the community as well? That's our biggest challenge. We have, you know, affordable units. Our average worker makes a little too much to qualify for some of the affordable units, but doesn't make enough to buy a condo here. And so how do we sort of address the missing middle in our community? I would also mention, you know, years ago, I think 2019, 2018, you know, the staff and select board brought a condo conversion bylaw to town that would restrict people's ability to convert, you know, rentals into condos. And we saw the opposite impact, people rushing to convert into condos, ended up getting voted down and ended up having an adverse impact on the community. So, and we're seeing something similar right now with these bylaws, people worrying about their own properties, people that rent year-round now, that live here, that may be on fixed incomes, that worry about, you know, if they fall in hard economic times, they might themselves want a short-term rent, and will they have that option or ability? So, you know, what I would say is I think the articles are well-intentioned. I think they deserve conversation. I think our boards are interested in having a more direct conversation on that. But I think, again, we want to take a close look at these policies. Will they have unintended consequences? Let's get the findings from the UMass Donahue Institute study, and let's come back to town meeting in the near future to bring regulations and bylaws to the body that are actually going to address the problem.
How close are we to fully funding the VFW project?
Very close. So we got invited to put in a full funding application this past January, and we're hoping to find out in June or July as to whether or not it got funded. It's very rare for a project to get funded in its first round, but because Provincetown has committed $3 million towards the project, it puts us in a very competitive place. And so on the warrant is an article to make up $2.25 million of that commitment. The vast majority of that money is excess money in our tourism fund. So last year we reallocated our rooms tax to go towards housing for the first time, and so we're recapturing a bunch of money that was deposited into the tourism fund, the general fund, to redirect that towards housing efforts. You mentioned before we have money on the warrant for the first time to set up a transportation program, a pilot program with businesses in the Outer Cape, so that we have service earlier in the morning and later at night, because we have workers in town that are spending 1 or 2 hours worth of work on an Uber or Lyft or cab to get in and out of town, and things like that. So I feel like we have a pretty comprehensive slate of articles this year, as we did last year, and I think the short-term rental conversation is certainly going to continue.
Thank you for participating.
We're getting
I know. I could talk to you about this forever.
It's the same thing that happened last week.
I know. So, I think it's important to continue to talk about this in a civil manner. There's a lot of uncivil discourse going on all around us, and like you said, the conversation is going to keep going. So, thank you for having it with us.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for continuing to show up to work.
Yeah, still here.
I know it's hard.
Thank you to all our viewers, all our sponsors, the Crown and Anchor Provincetown Brewing Company, the Boat Slip, Provincetown Business Guild, and Shipwreck at the Browse Key.
Very good.
I nailed it.
Thank you guys for watching, and thank you for waking up in Provincetown.
Wherever you are, we'll see you next
Friday.
week.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Wake up. Wake up, wake up. In